Actually, we're in the middle of Golden Week, and also it's going to be Mid-Autumn Festival in a couple of days. So we are now entering the global mooncake section of our event, and our speaker, Yiying.
Hey.
So Yiying is a Shanghai-born, Australia-educated designer and creative director extraordinaire who has been featured in too many publications to mention. And she's a very sought-after speaker all around the world, so we're very fortunate to have her share her insights on how to design for a global audience today.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. And I'm really excited to be here for the sake and food. I hope you had some sake. They're amazing. And just gonna get ready. And are we all ready? There's nothing wrong with my computer. Oh, are we good? Oh, that's all right. All right. Exciting time. Hey! It's all working. Okay. Cool! Okay, thanks so much for being here. My name is Yiying Liu, and I'm going to talk about design for a global market. So, how many of you have seen this image before? Please raise your hand. Oh, excellent. Okay. For those of you who have no idea what it is, or probably have seen it but don't know what this is, it is the Twitter farewell. Every time when Twitter is down, people will see this image online. And the fact that it was probably the very first error message that made user happy from around the world, as you can see for the testimonials. And it's pretty funny that, to me, what's more interesting, apart from all the press, is the global audience's response towards it. And you can see from Japan to Australia to Tokyo with fine art, and you can see New York street art. And this is actually from a real Lego spaceship designer from Denmark. He sent it to me, and also like kids were playing with the instruction. And also Singapore government love it so much it becomes a government announcement. And obviously we love cakes, and why do we stop on cakes? We also wanted to have some drinks. So our left is actually from New York. There's a professor launched a farewell pale ale beer label contest. Amazing internet. And on the right is actually the very first Shorty Awards in New York. They were serving the farewell martini. I had 7. I was really smashed. They're amazing. You can find a recipe online, by the way. And you also have fashion. Fashion from around the world. This is not just one person. It's around the world. And in Halloween, we also have hats. I love the fact that the guy from the right is actually an engineer from Adobe, and he made this hat and put it online. And somebody loved it so much and tattooed this on the leg. It's a scritter from Florida, and it made it into the CNN News. What I also love about it is Conan O'Brien actually commissioned the artist made this piece called the Conan Pale Ale. You can actually find it from his website. Just type in Team Coco / whatever. As long as it's not a valid link, you will see the forward page. And Conan tweeted to the artist, which in this case you probably already know, that was me. And he is very tall, I can tell you. I was very lucky to get to meet him in person. But my name is Yiying Liu. It literally means happy creative land. I didn't make it up. But what's really interesting is like myself, I was born in Shanghai, China, moved to Sydney, Australia when I was a teenager for the love of koala and kangaroos. And I also studied in Sydney, University of New South Wales, and UTS, University of Technology Sydney. And I did exchange study in London at Central St. Martin's for advertising. And now I live in San Francisco. That's why my accent is completely messed up. So I have started my own design studio from 2007, and I've been very lucky to work with companies around the world. And I also, in my past life, I used to work with 4 agencies around the world. In the last 3 years, I was the creative director with 500 startups, and currently I'm affiliated with NYU Shanghai Program of Creativity and Innovation. And recently I was invited to be at IDEO Shanghai as the Creative in Residence program. I will tell you more later. So to sum up, what's really interesting here is you can see this global phenomenon of people from around the world respond to this single image. And the reason why they had all these responses is actually quite surprising and also not surprising, given the fact that the actual image is no difference than the traditional tag error message, which is the blue screen of death. Right? The idea behind it, or the content behind it, is pretty much the same, which is basically a display telling people, hey, something is wrong with the tech, right? But the way that it was being said, that's two different ways. This is by typography. So if you don't speak English as a first language, it just means a bunch of white squiggles on the blue screen. It doesn't really communicate. But what's really interesting is here, this illustration is actually, there's not a lot of text. It was basically shapes and colors, and combined become this thing that transcends the linguistic barrier. So that's why people say a picture worth 1,000 words. And to me, it's very fascinating because English is my second language. And I was actually talking to friends early on, and even Chinese these days, even though it's coming from a pictorial background, but it's not necessarily retained what was, like, you can't really look at the picture of the character and figure out what exactly was going on, because everything is pretty much, it's all highly regulated shapes. But to come up with something organic and something that is actually quite universal, visual communication in this case really transcends the culture barrier or the language barrier. So the first takeaway, which I also think is really amazing to see, that more larger companies are inspired by this and made their own error page with more artworks, right? So the very first takeaway I'd love to share with you is V for visualize. Is encouraging and enable more specialists, especially artists, to work with engineers, artists to work with product designers from different areas to work together, because I believe that everybody has their own gift and expertise, and when you put people together from different realms, they would be able to create something truly magical. And second one I'd like to share is O for optimize. So this is a project, actually, I worked, it's funny, this is Google, I worked with Mozilla, actually. This is a project, this is a prototype in early days. It's a project that it was the very first TV dongle, and it's open sourced, that backed by Mozilla. And it was using Firefox OS as the system. And in the very beginning, it's a white label, and they needed a really strong brand, because we already have the Amazon Fire TV stick and also Google Chromecast. So in order to come up with something completely new and compete with something that's in the existing market, they come up with a name which is called Matchstick. And it's also B2B2C. So we need to kind of somehow target to the developer community first. So we decided to launch a Kickstarter campaign online, which is targeting to the developers, and then let them to create the open source information using the actual product. So we need to have a very strong and kind of robust typography, which I designed the very first typography and embedded the play button, because basically when you put the stick onto the computer, it will live stream everything onto a big TV. So it's basically the notion of play. But we didn't stop there. I was thinking we wanted to create something that is not only typography based, but also this is targeting for developers and also ultimately customers around the world. So we need to come up with something that is transcending the linguistic barrier. Again, so I kind of twin into, this is the very first draft, by the way. We got shoot down later on. So the first little guy, we had this little fire guy, which is kind of inspired by the syndrome from The Incredible. People think it's too cute. They're like, we want something more badass. So I was like, all right, let's see if we can like put in some Star Wars thing there. But it's, again, like some people get it, some people don't, because it's basically I found the airplay symbol is very much similar to the Darth Vader, but people are like, what is that? I don't really get it. So you want to make sure you don't just target to a niche market. You also needed to kind of make something that is more universal. So I turned to the original notion, which is the fire. And then, which is also really funny, is we do the user testing in China. People actually like it, but when it's here, people are like, it's too Halloweeny. It just reminds me of the Halloween pumpkin. We're like, all right. So we have to scrap that. And then I finally drew the inspiration from the evolution of the actual animal. I was like, I was thinking about something actually capture the essence of quick, fast, but also at the same time have the actual match on the back. So I thought about why not having the little hedgehog or porcupine carry the matchstick. So this is the final design of the matchstick logo, which is also the mascot, which is the little, we still argue whether it's a porcupine or a hedgehog, so that's up to you to decide. But we have this little creature that can actually work side by side with the platform, which is Firefox. And this is actually how it looks like on the actual product. And this is the abbreviated version. We also created the street art version, kind of more grungy, and looks great on a t-shirt. And we were very lucky to be able to reach to our goal literally in 24 hours and was able to raise $500,000 literally in 25 days. We had about 25,000 backers, product. We sold 25,000 product in 25 days, within the 25 days. So that was really a successful campaign. And this is the other color. So we successfully launched a Kickstarter campaign, raised nearly $500,000. So this is just like the result of the successful branding. But in the same time, really the takeaway is here for optimize, because every single company will have a name anyway, and you should make the most. You should make the most out of your brand name, and the simplest way is depict the product and the service in a vivid way, and then it become to life, and also through the visual storytelling, people will feel more resonate to the actual product. So the next project is actually a really fun project, iPhone Views. This is a project I did for Disney Shanghai, and probably you already know Disney opens its largest, probably the recent largest castle in Shanghai, China last year. And when Shanghai Disney come to me back in 2014, it actually looks like this. And they needed to hire more than 10,000 employees in order to fulfill for this new, this whole new entity in China. And so this is how it looks like now. But back in the days, they came to me and they said, hey, Yiying, we needed to come up with this campaign that we gotta probably attract more than like 10,000 people to apply. And we also needed to make sure that we create something that is authentically Disney, but distinctly Chinese. We already decide which 5 characters we wanted to depict. Mickey for the magic, Simba for the growth, Mulan for the courage, Elsa for the dream, and Snow White and for the female leadership in Silicon Valley. And thank you. And by the way, just a fun fact, it's actually from the valley. Apparently, it's coming from the Green Valley. I did my research. So anyway, if you really look at the 5 characters side by side, apart from Mulan, there's nothing really Chinese there. And to be honest, for God's sakes, they're different species. So that was actually a quite interesting challenge right there. And I tried to figure out a way to make them coherent, because they're coming from different genres and also different period of time. And the styles, again, they're not necessarily very much consistent. So I drew the inspiration from research back to the folk art in China, which is paper cut. So I was looking at the paper cut and thinking maybe we can apply that into the holistic campaign. So firstly, I was applying the traditional Chinese motif from the Lucky Crowd, the Yiying, which you can actually see from the Beijing Olympic game torch to Mickey. And also, was actually trying to negotiate with them whether we can actually apply the little tiger shoe, which actually protect the little baby when they were born, in like back in the days in the Asian Chinese tradition, onto Mickey. And I was very happy that the team said yes. So this is the very first artwork for Mickey. Again, it was highly regulated because all the poses, you can't really change the pose, but you can actually think outside of the box, within the box. And the next one, it's actually also very challenging because they really wanted to depict the notion of growth. So they said, is there any way that you can put little Simba with the adult Simba together in one page? I was like, well, if you put them together, people will think the adult Simba is Mufasa. And they're like, we want them together. You gotta figure out a way we want them together. Okay, so I was like, all right, let's see what we can do. So I again drew back to the story of the ancient Africas, drawing back from the Africa Teuton and also the body paint. And all of a sudden I realized that in the actual animation there was this little Simba totem in the actual animation. I watched the animation 3 times to find out. So it's a very simple solution, which is basically having the little Simba as the little body tattoo onto the adult Simba to symbolize for the growth. Mulan, in this case, I thought it would be really important and also interesting to illustrate the actual name of Mulan. So name Mulan in Chinese character or Mandarin is actually the magnolia flower. Mulan is actually the flower, the name of the flower. So I decided to use the flower as a motif, kind of going throughout the entire illustration. And if you watch the animation again, you'll realize that there's always like this little Easter egg of Mulan or the magnolia flower in the actual animation to symbolize the strength and also beauty. Elsa, in this case, really, there's nothing really Chinese there. And I was like, all right, you gotta find out a way to make this really kind of resemble somehow Chinese. And so I drew the inspiration again from the paper cut, but in this case, I drew back to the ballerinas in Russia and also European, like Scandinavian snow, and bang, you have the snow combination with Elsa. So the paper cut really kind of gives the Chinese touch without losing this authenticity of the actual character itself. Finally, Snow White and 7 Dwarfs, and they said we need to have the whole team there. You can't just have the CEO, you gotta have the whole team. It's like, all right, we don't have much space, right? And also, where's the motif here? The motif in this case, I drew the inspiration from the forest and also the plants and animals from the forest. And finally, we have the solution, where is having the forest animals and plants onto the CEO's dress, and then you have the 7 dwarfs together, and that was the Snow White, which is the last one. So this is the actual characters or artworks in the campaign. And the campaign was extremely successful. We were able to attract more than 70,000 people. 70,000 people from around in China and also around the world, and finally successfully recruit more than 10,000 employees for the opening of Shanghai Disney Resort. It's a lot of people. Thanks very much. So the takeaway is iPhone infused. As more and more companies are going overseas and growing globally, I would really suggest you to infuse the target audiences, local, custom, language, culture, and these culture and custom need to be recognized, respect, and also infused into the design and marketing campaign, etc. in the product. The second last one is going to be C for characterize. So this is also one of my favorite projects. This project is actually before I moved to here. I was back in Australia, and this is right after the global financial crisis, where there was a struggling retail startup company called Go Sushi. They have amazing sushi, but nobody really kind of buy them. So back in the day, they came to me and was like, we have really awesome sushi, but just like nobody likes us. I was like, maybe we should start from the logo. So we came up with a new name, Wasabi Warrior. I actually designed the character, thank you. I also not just designed one, I came up with the whole entire army. And every single army brother, in this case, has very different personalities, and also symbolize for different content, which is inside the sushi. Beefy warrior in this case, and we have vegetarians and also chicken warrior, the youngest brother, very cheeky. And so every single character also being embedded in the actual interior design in the actual shops. And now they have opened more than 50 stores in Australia. This is actually one, I believe, in Brisbane. They also have one in Sydney, more than one in Melbourne. They just recently opened their new store in Hong Kong and also in Philippines. So the result of a successful branding help a struggle retail setup become the largest franchise sushi chain, and also now they have $2 million turnover almost every year now. So C for characterize, give personality to your product or service. It helps user to resonate more with what you do, and thus leads more sales. Okay, so here's the last one, and also one of my favorite ones. This is actually for a startup company back in the days in 2000. I think they founded in 2010, which is actually in the batch 0 of 500 startups. So back in the days, Visually was one of the biggest platform for infographics, and a lot of people are using them for creating infographics or finding infographics. But in 2014, the platform decided to become a creative content marketplace. So they're not only there for the infographic, but also they wanted to attract more content creators, such as designers, animators, journalists, creative directors, developers around the world. And they also wanted to attract more bigger brands like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, IBM, etc. So the CEO and the CMO actually decided to launch their pivot during the South by Southwest. And also they have a booth in the startup, they have this in the startup, what would you call this? This is the expo in South by, the trade show, the interactive trade show where thousands of people coming. Actually, more than 400,000 people came last year. So when they launched this, they are competing with NASA, which has more money and also more resources in this case. And also, New York Times is literally opposite to their booth. So they said, okay, we only literally have a month to launch this. We have a month, and we also don't have a large budget, but we need to come up with some strategy. We need to come up with a way. And we also needed to incorporate the original logo, which I didn't design, but it's already been there for 3 years, and people already have a very strong kind of relationship with the actual original branding. So we need to incorporate the original branding without losing the branding essence, but come up with something that's also send the idea of content is king. And they keep on saying content is king during the Skype meeting. Because I was in Australia, Sydney. The CEO was here in San Francisco. The CMO was in Tel Aviv. And so we're having this online meeting in Skype. Not Google Hangout, sorry. I love Google Hangout. But we were doing this on Skype. And they keep on saying content is king. And I thought, well, if content is king, why don't we just visualize this? Why don't we just create this character that literally depicts the idea of content is king? And let it hold the visually present. Thank you. And so the fun thing about the Content King, we can actually use it. It has a lot of long tail, and we can reuse it and use it in lots of different fun ways. So we're using the Content King as the posters, sticking around in town in Austin, Texas, the convention center, and we also have him as a little character. We carry him around on the 6th Street where the music festival is there, and people are taking photos and put them on social media. So we already kind of create hype before the actual trade show starts. And during the trade show, we have the photo booth props. So I created all the props for the photo booth. And this is a team interacting with the photo booth. And you can actually upload the photo after you come, because you know there will be hundreds of thousands of people coming to your booth, and you don't know their background, they just come and go. And if you make your booth really interesting and engaging, people will stop, and they'll probably talk to you, interact with you, but then they leave. So in order to do this, people actually get interested, and mind you, this is actually before Snapchat. So a lot of people get really excited when they actually can get a looped, interactive GIF animation that they can share online, or they can send it to themselves or email to themselves. So in this way, you automatically or organically get people's information instead of asking them to give their information, they're willing to share with you their information. And even the team have a lot of fun. You know that this is successful when the team actually have more fun. We also create stickers, and my favorite hack is we create the big bag that is bigger, twice as big as the official bag. So everybody put all their stuff in our bag. That was a really fun hack, and we'll probably see more bags later on, much bigger. And so this is actually before the show. After the show, all the props were gone, literally like after 2 days, which is good for us because we have less thing to carry back to San Francisco. And so here's the takeaway. So content is king is actually being popularized by Bill Gates in 1996. And now it's 2017. After 21 years, I would like to propose engagement is queen. When you put meaningful content and engaging form together, this is where innovation happens. When you put tech and art together, this is where interesting thing happens. And this is also where the magic happens. So, this is the 5 takeaway today. V for visualize, O for optimize, I for infuse, C for characterize, and E for engage. And in this globalized moment and more company, you want to find your own voice, and also you want to find your voice that will communicate globally. So remember, content is king, engagement is queen. I'm creating more topics. If you have more ideas and feedbacks, feel free to get in touch. I'm also going to speak at Ignite San Francisco next week, I think, the week after, about how I designed a dumpling emoji and more. So hopefully I'll see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yiying. I was not kidding about the mooncake piece. So we're just getting started. We don't have much of a budget for swag, but we got mooncakes for all of our speakers. So thank you very much, Yiying. And we also have some Tavium socks for you. There you go. All right.